Good day, everyone. This is Brian Pasch, CEO of PCG Consulting, and I'm excited today to have this webinar, Turning Your Service Drive into a Cash Register. With me on today's call is Don Reed, Andrew Barter, and Julie Chisholm, and we are going to have a great day of engagement regarding what we can do in the service drive to increase profits. Let me just say that the speakers on today's webinar will be part of the Automotive Boot Camp, the 4th annual event. It's going to be in Philadelphia, May 14th through 16th. Today's webinar will give you an idea of the subject matter experts that will be at boot camp, as well as some insights on what they will be speaking about. The sponsors for boot camp are listed here. We're going to have a lot of different technology companies, consultants, and subject matter experts at boot camp. So if you are in the market for looking for a new website or a CRM, or to do some new things in the service drive, the boot camp, in addition to the 48 workshops and technology sessions, will allow you to meet one-on-one in an intimate setting with some of the best companies in the industry. If you haven't visited the boot camp website, please go to the homepage of automotivebootcamp.com, and you'll see that right on the front is the updated PDF color brochure of all the workshops that will be at boot camp, including those that are going to be offered by today's speakers. At the end of today's webinar, we'll be offering attendees special pricing to reward you for your hour of investment in education. Write down this phone number, 908-601-6475. That's Carrie Hempel's direct number. She's the Executive Director of First Class Educators who's hosting the event, and you'll be able to lock in some special pricing. So let's jump into the subject today. I was recently in Colorado at the Innovative Dealer Summit, and there was a wonderful speaker named Dan Thurman who was juggling sharp objects. I don't know if any of you are jugglers. Are there any jugglers on today's call? This guy was fantastic, but he juggled these very sharp objects on a unicycle, which was even more impressive. And I thought about how the automotive industry has evolved when dealers at the turn of the century first started selling cars. Obviously, they didn't have much competition. They may have been the only Ford dealer or Chevy dealer or Cadillac dealer in their market. They knew their cost. They knew what they had to sell it for. It was pretty easy to make some money. And then as other brands came to market and other competitive forces came involved, they needed to advertise. Why should someone buy a Ford or a Cadillac or a Chevy? And then as the business grew and the industry grew, they realized they needed more people than just themselves, so they had to start hiring, and then training came into the picture, and dealer principals had to start worrying about human resources and training. And then, of course, the lawyers got involved, and then states got involved, and now we have regulations out the gazoo. And then, of course, the internet came, and, well, things got a little crazy, and, of course, service marketing is part of that, and today dealers are juggling a lot of balls as a result for the internet. I don't know about you, but you can answer this yes or no. I'd like to see your responses. Do you feel today that there's too many balls for you as a fixed operations director, general manager, internet manager? How many balls can you really juggle at any one time? Does it feel at times a little overwhelming? Diane says absolutely. Let's get some other feedback from people today. Do you feel that you have too many balls? Wendy says yes. Well, today, these experts are going to talk about how to give you some insights and assistance in this area of service marketing and service operations. You have your own buzzwords, and this is only a small list on the words and the vocabulary that we use in service marketing today. Let me ask you another question. Does anybody's desk look like this? Are you the fixed ops director? Are you the service advisor, team leader? Or is this your desk, the internet? Dustin says, yes, and my walls. I like that. The idea of how many reports, how many analyses, how many insights are being thrown at you, can you really handle it all? And one of the things that I'm going to challenge everyone today on the call, from the insights that our speakers give, are you really willing to do an audit of your fixed ops, of your service marketing? Are you willing to look at your whole digital strategy and peel back the onion and decide what's working and what's not working? Let me ask a question. Would you agree with me today that dealers are spending money for marketing, advertising, operations, yet there is not clear visibility to you what's working, what's not working? Would you agree with me that as a fixed ops director or a general manager, you're really looking for new ways to know what's working and what's not working? There's some holes in that budget. Casey says, absolutely, yeah. I've heard this over and over, so I'm going to challenge you later about this concept of an audit. The other thing is why are we missing so many opportunities today in the dealership? And I don't know about you, but you have a login to your CRM, you maybe have a login to DME, you have a login to your website analytics, you have your Google AdWords login, you have your webmaster tools, you get reports from your chat vendor, you get reports from the OEM. I don't know about you, but is anybody else feeling that they're being overwhelmed with reports? And as a result, we get a little overwhelmed. We're not making the right decisions. And that's what Boot Camp is designed to do, to help dealers really sift through what is important, what should they be looking at. And it's also one of the reasons why, as a consulting company, we created a great product to organize and clarify and see the ROI of all your vendor data. And that is something that we'll be displaying at Boot Camp for attendees to see. It's a single login for you to look at all your marketing data, website data, social media, reputation in a single login. And today, for fixed ops directors, and you'll hear it from Julie and you'll hear it from our other speakers, digital marketing and engagement, social media, and reputation management is so important for our fixed ops department, and having all of that data in your fingertips to make better decisions makes sense. Before I jump into Julie, I want to make sure we're all in agreement that today's infrastructure, how people interact with car dealers, looks something like this. We can use stimulus, radio, TV, print, direct mail, billboards to generate interest about our dealership, but it doesn't necessarily drive people directly to the service drive or directly to call and make an appointment. They're going to the internet and checking us out. Let me ask a question for everyone that's on the line. And if you don't agree with me, please, this is not a dictatorship. Would you believe that online reviews on the dealership is significantly impacting the dealership, or it has a minor impact on the dealership? Do online reviews significantly impact the service drive revenue, or is it really not a big impact? What's your answer? Dustin says, very much so. Steve says, huge. Is it a big thing? Tom says, hudge, but that is huge, just spelled wrong. Diane says, huge impact. So today, if we look at this ecosystem, all of our stimulus spending is driving people to the zero moment of truth, where people are finding out whether it's for car purchases, price, performance, and styling, or if it's service. Hey, what are my prices? Rick says only some, and thank you, Rick, for sharing that dissenting opinion. Everyone else is saying huge. Rick's saying it just has some impact. So we'll talk about that. And then when they decide to reach out to you in the first moment of truth, how well are we picking up the phone? How well is our service advisors engaging? What are we doing to get them into the dealership for service? And then the second moment of truth, how is that experience? And what is our service team doing to generate positive reviews? Service ROs typically are 5 times higher per month than car sales. So if a dealer's selling 200 cars a month, they're doing about 1,000 ROs. What are we doing with that huge opportunity in the second moment of truth to generate more positive reviews online? So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Julie Chisholm, who's the Digital Marketing Director at Cavender Toyota in Texas, to talk about what she's seeing as opportunities for you in the fixed ops department and what she's going to be covering at boot camp. So Julie, take it over.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I just wanted to let you know that I started off in retail about 13 years ago with Toyota, selling cars also through the internet. And after about 3 to 4 years of that, I moved in and became a consultant with Toyota. So I spent a lot of years on the road going all over the country helping dealers try to make sense of the internet space, the e-commerce space, and now what we call the digital space. And I always told myself that if the perfect opportunity came along, the perfect storm, to step back into retail, I would have to really consider it. So last July, I made the leap back into retail. So I am at Cavender Toyota in San Antonio, Texas. So really, I wanted to break this down into 3 parts. Do you have great representation on your dealership website? I think that is obviously step 1, because if you're going to drive all this traffic to your website and your mobile site, is it ready? Is it going to stand out? Is it going to give customers what they're looking for? The next thing to think about is how much of your digital marketing efforts are given to your service center. So not necessarily a percentage, I'm not going to break it down for you like that, but is it a discussion in your leadership meetings? Are you sitting down with your marketing director or with your internet manager, whoever's responsible for marketing? Are you sitting down with your owner and saying, hey, I think we're missing the ball here? And are you giving enough of your time and energy and effort and thought process to service marketing? And then the third thing, how much of your digital marketing budget is spent on parts and service? And I kind of hesitated to put that in because that meant that I might need to share that number with you, and I don't know that I have it broken down as a percentage or even as a dollar amount, but I'm going to explain it in a little bit more detail.
Great. So Julie, let's ask our team here, the dealer attendees on today's webinar, yes or no question. Could you answer Julie's first question? Do you have great representation on your dealership website in fixed ops? What does your homepage look like? Would you say, yeah, we have great representation, or we don't? What are some of the feedback from your perspective, the dealers that are on today's call? How would you rate your own website? Let's see. Mike says marginal, sadly. Carl says poor. See who else might want to chime in here. Well, it's obvious, Julie, that you're hitting a sensitive thing, because a lot of people are saying that they do not have great representation on their website. So let's take a look at what you mean by that in this next slide.
So here is a screen capture of our homepage at Cavender Toyota, and as you can see, one of our banners or part of our slideshow that's on our homepage is clearly dedicated to our service department. And right now we kind of have a campaign of going through the definitions of certain things. Our slogan here is Cavender Confidence. So we've got a definition of confidence, we've got a definition of service, we've got a couple of others. But we've got that phone number displayed pretty loud and proud, and really just tried to put a unique digital effort picture, you know, with the wrenches and that sort of thing, just to be kind of eye-catching and unique. Underneath that, well, you see the red tabs. We also have a make a service appointment and our raving fans. Those are 2, and the specials, of course, but service and parts are a part of each of those 3 tabs. If you see where it says Toyota Truck Month, that is a tile that we rotate, and sometimes it advertises tires. If we have a tire sale, sometimes it advertises certified used vehicles, but we try to give our service department equal opportunity on that tile as well.
And Julie, I don't know if you're going to cover that. I'm just go back. Are you going to be talking about the navigation in later, the position of service and parts in the nav later in the deck?
No, we can go ahead and cover that. So if you look at the top, our main navigation tiles, we've got home, truck deals. That's a big push for us at this store because we have the Toyota truck plant that's just about 30 miles from us. Specials, of course, because so many folks visit your website for specials. And then we have our service and parts tab. And underneath that, if I could give just a little bit of advice of something that I've learned is not to have too many options under service and parts. Direct them where you want them to go. Help them with what page you want them to see. So if you click on service and parts, Brian will show you the slide of what you would see on your screen. And we recently redid.
Julie, are you still there? Okay. Don, are you still there?
Don? Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Okay, so we may have lost Julie. Hold on one second. Julie? She may have had a telephony issue here. Hold on a second. Let me find out what happened to Julie here. Send a chat message to Julie. All right, Julie, we can't hear you. Okay, let's see what happened to her phone. It seems lately that there is a growing conspiracy on webinars that I host that something odd happens. So we're going to, I think we're going to have to do for Julie's sake, she may have had some internet problems. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to advance through her slides, and we're going to have to come back to her, and I'm going to jump right into Don, and then we'll come back to Julie. So Don, welcome to today's webinar, as oddly as the order has just become. Thank you for being part of the upcoming Automotive Boot Camp. Don, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with everyone today, and certainly looking forward to attending my first boot camp. Dealer Pro training started about 13 years ago. We're made up of ex-automotive retail dealers, general managers, and service directors. I got started in the service business many years ago, back in the 70s, as a service advisor, and have always had a strong affection for the fixed operation side of the business. As a dealer of 26 years, I prided myself in having strong fixed ops. And one of the biggest strengths that we can have in fixed operations, of course, is to have 100% service absorption. So the workshop that I'm going to be conducting at the boot camp is called the 4 Essentials to Achieving 100% Service Absorption. And when I'm speaking of achieving 100% absorption, I'm talking about doing it primarily through the service drive, because the majority of the dealers don't have body shops, and I'm not going to talk about wholesale parts. I'm going to talk strictly about the retail service drive. So I think it's important that we take a quick look at where we are today in our industry, and the statistics tell us that today across the U.S. that the average dealer is running below 60% in service absorption. The last number I saw was about 58. In far too many stores, we find that we have a stagnant customer base, and by stagnant I mean it's not going up, it's not going down, it's just kind of holding steady. And of course, if we're selling more cars each and every month, as we are, matter of fact, we're having a very good year last year in new car sales, why isn't our customer base increasing in the service drive? Profit margins far too many cases below industry guides, and the industry guides that I will be referring to are those of the NADA 20 group programs. And nationally, we find that sales per repair order are going down, hours per repair order are going down, and are probably now currently at about an all-time low, 1.3 or below. And we still have dealers that are either have a declining net profit or even a net loss in their service and parts operation. So in the boot camp, we're going to be talking about some ways that we can take those profits. If they're great, we want to make them greater. If they're good, we're going to make them great. And if you're losing money, we'll give you some ideas on how you can start building net. At Dealer Pro, we have a saying that we think that there is a cancer that is prevalent in fixed operations all across the country, and that cancer is called lack of accountability. The good news is that that cancer is 100% curable, and we'll be talking about it
so,
as we go forward. So how do you cure the cancer that is prevalent in fixed ops?
Well, Don, let's ask the dealers that are on today's webinar, do you agree with Don's statement that there's a cancer in today's fixed ops marketplace in our industry, and its lack of accountability? Would you agree with Don on this? Because he's going to go into what he means in that. It's interesting to see what other people have to say about. Whoa, here, yeah, yeah. So unfortunately, this does not hold true for only fixed ops. Diane, you're absolutely right, and we're going to talk about that for sure. So go ahead, Doc.
Well, my point in accountability is this. I mean, I've yet to find a dealer who doesn't have some form of accountability in their variable operations. I mean, if I'm a salesperson at one of the dealerships on this call, and the best I can do is sell 4 cars a month, the question I would ask the dealer is, how long am I going to be employed here? And the most common answer I get is, you won't last 90 days in my store if you can only sell 4 cars a month. Well, I understand that, but if you cross back over to the back end of the store and you visit your service advisor back here who's writing 0.8 of an hour per repair order, he's got a job for life. And my point being is that 0.8 of an hour per repair order is no better than selling 4 cars a month. So why is it you hold the salespeople accountable for their performance on the showroom floor, but you don't hold your advisors accountable for doing what they were hired to do in the service department? So that's the accountability that I'm talking about. We have the correct processes in place on the showroom floor. We need to have those same accountability processes in place in every department in our dealership, as one of the participants so clearly pointed out. The 4 essentials that I'll be addressing at boot camp are, number 1, we have to be able to control expenses. And notice it doesn't say reduce, it says control. And first step to controlling expenses is to measure them, and then we're able to then manage those expenses and control them. The second essential is we want to be able to improve our profit margins on labor and our profit margins on parts. And we want those margins to be in line with the NADA guides, and we'll discuss those in great detail. For example, we want to see a labor margin of no less than 75%. Far too many dealers are in the mid to low 60s. We want to talk about raising our sales per retail repair order, and we can certainly do that starting today if we had the proper service drive processes in place with our advisors, just like we have processes in place for the salespeople on the showroom floor. And lastly, we want to get more customers in the door, and we want to increase the number of retail repair orders. And again, if we're selling more new and used, we certainly don't want to forget the used car buyer. But if we're selling more new and used vehicles, we should be increasing our customer pay base in our service departments, and we have to learn how to sell more appointments. The last graph is to exemplify what happens when you get a dealer who is committed to holding his people accountable in service and parts at the same level that he holds them accountable on the showroom floor. This happens to be a Minnesota dealer. It sells GM products. I believe they're Buick, Cadillac, and GMC. And as you can see, 2008 to 2009, he's cruising along with a very, very slight improvement in those 2 years. And then all of a sudden, he decides to attack that cancer that he has back there and start doing something different. And that thing that's different is called process. So by installing new processes and training his employees on how to utilize those processes to maximize the customer's visit each and every time they come into that dealership, you can see this gentleman in the following year had a 70% increase in labor sales, a 77% increase in part sales. These are retail, not total service department. And if you look at the dollar values on there, that ends up being about $1,093,000 in newfound gross profit, not sales. Over $1 million in gross profit, same location, same franchises, same products, same building, same people. The only thing that's not the same were his processes. So he is well on his way to achieving his goal of 100% service absorption. Go ahead, Brian.
And at the boot camp, are you going to be showing people at boot camp the specific steps that they can take to create that type of an impact at their dealership?
Absolutely, I will. We're going to be giving
Great.
them some very specifics.
Great. So Rick Dumas asked a question. What did their trajectory look like for 2011, 2012? Once processes are implemented, do things level off? Do they continue to increase? What was going on at this particular dealership?
That's a great question, and we continue to work with this dealer for another year past 2010, and we continue to see some improvements, not quite as dramatic as what you see here. But he did continue to improve. In any operation, once they become proficient in the new processes, is going to level off. And now in finishing 2012, he has pretty much leveled off. I can tell you that he's had the highest net profit in his service departments in 2010, 11, and 12 that he's ever had in the history of his store. So he's leveling off at a pretty good level, at a pretty good number. But yeah, you're going to level off at some point in time, with the exception of traffic.
Absolutely.
You do have the ability to bring in more traffic.
Absolutely. And Don, I want to encourage attendees here that if you're looking for new ways to hold your team accountable and to implement the processes that can see that type of change, well, another great reason why you should be at boot camp. I'm going to unmute Julie because Julie is back here. Julie, are you there?
I'm here.
Great. So give me a second then, Julie, because I'm going to pop back to your slides, because we were talking about that you put service and parts kind of front and center on the navigation bar, and you created a very clear landing page for the service department. And so let's pick up from there, talking about what you're doing differently to digitally merchandise your website.
Okay. So one of the things that probably has made one of the impacts for our service center is making customer feedback a little more front and center. So we use something driver side, and we get approximately 8 of those pieces of feedback a day, and it's a really handy tool. It shows you RO number, it shows how much they spent, and then it's really one question. They get review on a scale of 1 to 5 stars, and then they can write comments if they'd like. And so what we are able to do is take some of that feedback and put it, if they are specific, what they enjoyed about their service, we can put it on the page that it relates to. So I talk about how quick and efficient the process was, then we can put that on our maintenance page. If they love the car wash that we give as a compliment to every service, then we make sure that it is any place that we have that logo there with the FJ, with the complimentary wash with every service. So it's really nice because they are up to date. We can change them out as often as we so. That's probably been one of our favorite items that we've changed this year.
Okay, so Julie, Alex asked a question. Does somebody go through and manually update these different services pages, or is there an RSS feed or an API that would do it automatically? Tell us a little bit about that.
In our case, we do them by hand. However, we do have a page on our website where they go in automatically as a feed. So having that there is great, but we just decided to take it one step further and disperse the service feedback on the service page.
And Mike Berryman asked the question, Julie, where are people filling out these comments? Is this right after the customer leaves the cashier? Are they doing it from home? Where's this feedback loop coming from?
Great question. They do it at home, and they get an email within a week of when the service center. And I think one reason we get so many responses is because it's one question.
Great. And are you using a commercial product to automate those emails based on DMS RO data?
Yes, it's automated through our web provider, so it's a partner that they have. So it's a partner with dealer.com called DriverSide.
Okay, so you're using DriverSide to send an email out after every closed retail service order. They're asked one question, you get that feedback, and then you're manually cutting and pasting on the appropriate pages so that instead of just having a stream of comments, which I really don't like, you're able to make each product page relevant with reviews. Is that correct?
That's correct. And one of the things that our staff has liked is that our service advisors, if they are mentioned by name, then, and it's a positive review, obviously, we put it with their bio. It's on our Meet Our Team page, and they really, really like that.
Great. That's a great idea. So Julie, let's talk about your digital marketing efforts.
All right. Direct mail only was so 2008. Little Black Eyed Peas reference here. Don't let your digital marketing 2000 and late. So this is not a slash direct mail. It definitely has its place, especially when it's targeted and it's targeted towards retention. But we had kind of a quarter with our first quarter, and we ended up not sending out any direct mail. I wanted you to know that if you don't send any out, but you have digital marketing strategy, you don't have to close your doors. So with digital marketing, here are some key pieces that we incorporate for service. Search engine marketing, obviously, so those are words that come up in paid search. Search engines, display ads, which come up, sites like that allow paid advertising. So we have incorporated that now of our product that we send out. Video pre-roll, news channel website over. So if you have teamed up with one of your local news channels and they have a website, we have teamed up and we do a lot of advertising with them. And ads, this is probably, I asked our general manager what he thinks has made the biggest difference, and he believes it's mobile. What we've done to increase just service knowledge locally with our mobile ads.
And Julie, I can't agree with you more. There's some great research coming out about when someone's searching on their mobile device, they're literally minutes or hours away from making a purchase decision. So let me ask everyone on the line here, how many of you have a body shop or a quick lube shop? It's separate from the dealership. I'd like to know how many. And Mike is asking you a question, Julie. Are you performing your service SEM and creating your display ads video pre-roll in-house, or are you using an outside vendor for the video pre-roll? Are you doing that in-house, Julie, or using an agency?
We do it in-house. We made a decision to hire a designer in-house, and this is one of the things that has really, really benefited our entire store from, but specifically service.
Great. And in my earlier question, we have people asking, do you have a body shop or a quick lube? I have a yes, one of each. We have both at Express. We have a body shop. And Shannon is asking questions, what's video pre-roll? Shannon, that is that 15-second or 30-second video that plays prior to a video that you want to watch. So you've probably seen them, Shannon, on YouTube. So if you wanted to watch Black Eyed Peas, going along with Julie's analogy, video, that 15 seconds, and if the consumer clicks on the video during its playtime, it can take them right to your website. And every time you go to CNN.com for any news story on their homepage, you'll see that 15-second video pre-roll. And we love pre-roll, and I'll talk about that. So, Julie, let's talk about year-over-year differences when you implemented the comprehensive digital marketing strategy for service.
Okay. So, again, keep in mind that no direct mail or email campaigns went out during Q1 of 2013, so of this year. But total RO count included our internal numbers. We had a 2,119 RO increase for that quarter. So if you divide that by 3, you're in the 700s of an increase. For customer pay only, we had an increase of over 1,500. So if you divide that by 3, you're looking at a little over 500 in RO count. So does it work? We're leaning towards.
That would be a big yes. Would anybody on this call like to have another 1,500 customer pay ROs, so another 500 a month using some very efficient digital marketing strategies? So Julie, tell us a little bit about these analytic charts. Okay,
so this is the analytics that I pulled from our website provider. So and this is Q4, I believe is what I did on this one. So November, December of last year, which is really when we started ramping up and thinking more of, hey, we include our service center and these digital efforts that we're doing. So the reporting includes mobile traffic as well as desktop traffic, and our page views you can see a little over 95,000. If you'll see our average time on page, it's low, but it's because mobile numbers are in there, and our bounce rate is at 44% because of mobile. If you go down to the second circle right there, you'll see our service page views were at 901 for that time period.
And let's take a look at first quarter 2013.
Yes. So this is just for mobile is what I'm looking at here. I apologize. The last screen was only mobile. It did not include desktop. So this is mobile sites. Total page views increased to 150,100, and our service page views, look at that, 7,500. So just with a little bit of effort, our page views for service really, really increased.
So Julie, let's go back for everyone to see that. The mobile in Q4 of 2012, 95,000 page views, 921 were service, and basically that went up about 900%, from under 1,000 to 7,500. That's huge.
Yeah, it is huge, and we are I mean, we're dedicating a significant number, our digital dollars, but we also make sure that whatever the mobile ad or the display, whatever it's showing, that it clicks through to the right place. We make sure that our pricing is very clear and consistent. So, we're very, very happy with the results here.
Right, and Michael Verla asked a question about bounce rate. So for everyone on the call, bounce rate is if somebody goes to a page on your website and then leaves your website and doesn't visit another page on that domain, that's called a bounce. Now, there's a couple things to keep in mind. In an ideal world, some digital campaigns want to have 100% bounce rate, meaning in an ideal world, if you could save an ad, $15 oil change, they went to the oil change appointment form, they filled it out and left, right, Julie? That's an ideal conversion. It would have 100% bounce rate.
Yes, and we'll even take the click to call. I mean, that is, they landed on our service page and our phone numbers there, and they landed on our, when they click the phone number, they end up with our BDC, our service BDC, and they set an appointment. That's a win.
Yes, so everyone who's been overly focused on bounce rate needs to understand a few things. Number one, phone calls are a conversion. On mobile websites, your phone to actual lead form conversion is almost like 5 to 1 or 7 to 1, meaning you'll get 7 calls for every 1 lead form that's filled out if they're on a mobile device. The other thing is website providers like TK Car Sites and their Power of 5, they have a separate microsite for service, a separate microsite for new cars, separate microsite for used cars. So when someone jumps from one website to another, even though it looks like the same website, that bounce. So you have to be very careful in looking at cost per conversion, what people are doing, and ask yourself, is the campaign designed in such that an ideal result could be a high bounce rate? A high bounce rate in itself is not necessarily a bad thing. And Julie, for your closing slides here, you're actually showing some budgets, July of 2012, and then we're going to take a look at something more recent. Tell us what we should be looking at.
So this is when they were spending $1,000 digitally for search engine, and they really weren't doing anything for display. So that $1,000 got you $50 related to the keywords of Toyota parts, which gave us 3,040 impressions, 45 clicks, and 2 leads. Fast forward to, what did I give you, March. We've increased that budget to $10,000. So right now I have $7,000 going to search engine marketing words and $3,000 to display. And you can see that for the words Toyota parts, we now are 180 clicks, but the impressions have really, really increased, over 19,000, and for parts we've gotten more leads that way. And then tires, tires are interesting because you're competing with Discount Tire and all these other shops that's what they specialize in. So to get into that realm has been difficult, and it probably would take more money than this, but we're pretty happy with these. Tire sales have increased. We're at 62 clicks. Leads, really they're picking up the phone and calling, or they're tapping to call. So the impressions getting close to 10,000. So which
right.
is
and
July,
one thing for those who
I'm sorry, just tires
didn't
exist in the top tires didn't exist in the top keywords when I got here, so the fact that now they're in the 10 or 12 is important.
Right, and a couple of things. This is a little technical, but it is important because I know we have some advanced users on the phone. If you're running your own AdWords campaigns, companies like Dealer.com normally don't allow you to put in phone tracking software, meaning they want you to run AdWords through their service. So when you're looking at the clicks, 62 clicks, if someone made a phone call, Julie would not know that necessarily. Some website providers allow that. You know, Driving Force, for example, is one of these vendors. Is they program their platform, so Julie could be tracking phone calls. The other thing to keep in mind is that Google recently announced enhanced campaigns so that your SEM ads can have free tracking phone numbers that can be mapped to your service, BDC, or to just your service line. And for the first time, you'll be able to have Google tell you total leads and calls and clicks. So very cool what Google's realizing on the need to have phone tracking. Rick was asking, how does the $10,000 get broken down? Rick, I would say it's a good offline discussion because I don't want to get too much in the weeds on AdWord budgets. They really vary store to store. Obviously, at boot camp, we're going to have 3 or 4 classes on AdWord strategies and budgets. I hope that you would allow that, parts of your team to come out. Mike says, yes. So Mike, DDC does allow up to 300 unique phone numbers associated with their display remarketing campaigns in order to track response. Yes. If you're using Dealer.com's TCD product, they have tons of tracking options. It's just that when you want to run AdWords yourself, you don't have that site-wide replaceable numbers on Cobalt or Dealer.com. They don't participate in that. So, Julie, thank you so much for your sharing of your digital strategies. Julie, tell everyone on the line what you're going to be focusing on boot camp specifically for those people who want to send their fixed ops directors out to boot camp.
So, I'm obviously going to build more on this about how to digitally market your service department. I'll show specific examples. We'll talk more about budget. I'll talk more about the partners that we use locally. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Spanish advertising that we've done because that's been critical to our success in San Antonio. So from that perspective, as digital marketing relates to just the service center, those are some things that I'm discussing. And to the person that asked the question about do graphic design in-house, my other session will dive into that. And there's definitely a big service center discussion that relates to our designer.
Great. And is there any dealers on the phone here today that are considering maybe hiring your own internal graphics person? Anybody on that fence? Because I will tell you, if you attend Julie's workshops, you'll see what the responsiveness, the creativity. I will also tell you that most set it and forget it kind of pre-packaged display ads that website providers provide for AdWords is not the quality that will convert very well. And Julie, I saw some of your custom banners. They are really, really well done.
Thank you.
So with that in mind, I'm going to turn it over to Andrew Barter. Andrew, congratulations for being part of the boot camp team. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Hey, thank you, Brian. And I want to say thanks to Don and thanks to Julie. And especially, again, thank you to you, Brian. I'm super excited to be part of the boot camp team and to meet you and everybody in Philadelphia in May. A little bit about me. I work for a company called Jetpack, and we like to say that we are the creative fuel that you can use to propel your business forward. We are a creative agency, and we work with OEMs, the manufacturers, and we also work direct with dealers, and so we're very unique in our space. You usually don't find companies that do both. And essentially what we do is we help build custom solutions for what we see as everyday common problems. And there's a couple of different areas that we do that in. We work with the OEMs on marketing events and what we call experiential learning, what most often you guys might see in a vehicle launch in a ride and drive format. But we also take those elements and we will really help the OEM get a lot of mileage out of them and really stretch their dollars by saying, hey, you know what, we built this great thing. If you've got dealers that want to do a marketing event, we will take this and we'll shrink it down and make it size appropriate for a dealer, for an auto group, for an auto association, or a local ad association, and we'll take that big show on the road and do that direct for dealers. We also do some stuff like LA Live. If you go out right now, if anybody's in the Los Angeles area, and that the open common areas between the Nokia Theater and the Staples Center, we manage all of those displays within that area, and we staff them with product specialists and people who can answer questions on Toyota products. Last couple 12 months, I should say, big stories for us. We did the 2013 Avalon launch, beautiful car. If you sell Toyotas, I hope you're doing well with it. We also do mobile applications. We created one recently for Toyota called Delivery Pro, which is a sort of a scripting tool that allows sales consultants and service consultants to work with customers during vehicle delivery and really focus on what's most important to the customer and make most efficient use of their time. And that's really sort of a sales satisfaction push that they have going on. We also did a great mobile app, a game that's based on the Foursquare API called the 100 Days of Avalon. Unfortunately, if you don't have a Toyota SPIN number, if you don't have one of their internal learner ID numbers, you can't participate, but it's a lot of fun. If you're into Foursquare, you would really enjoy it. We also do a lot of editorial content in terms of writing things like competitive comparison, that kind of stuff. And then the last thing that we do is, which is my forte and what I head up for the company, is customer retention and income development direct to dealers. And so if you look at a little bit about my background, I sort of came to training and consulting in a reverse way. Most of us start out in retail, get sort of the taste for problem solving, and then become sales or service consultants or trainers. For me, it happened the reverse. I joined the Army right out of high school and later became an officer in the military and found myself in a track in the training world. And so I did a lot of stand-up facilitation and training when I was in the Army. It's probably the most critical skill that the Army looks at in terms of day-to-day operations, is making sure that people understand how to do their job and basic soldier skills. Once I left the Army, like a lot of us, I got in the car business because I was looking for something to do until the real job came along. But that's when the bug hit me and when I fell in love. So started out selling cars and then kind of moved around through fixed operations 2 different times. I've been an OEM facilitator both as a full-time employee for Chrysler and Daimler Chrysler after that buyout, and I've also just been the hired consultant for short-term programs or long-term programs. What I do for Jetpack and what I do for our clients, including our dealer clients, is I help develop the content that customers are going to see. I'm also a tool builder, meaning that if we need something to help us display an idea visually to a customer or help make a complicated story more simple, I help work with both our clients and our creative staff to make those tools and bring them to life. And the last thing I think is probably most important is I function as what we call a resource buffer. So if you've got a problem and you're not sure where to go for that solution, that's one of the roles that we help fill for our clientele. We'll go out, we'll research all those solutions, come back and say, hey, here's several things that would do what you want them to do. Now it's just a matter of choosing the right one or some combination of those things. So let's jump in and talk a little bit about what's going on in the world of service retention and why suddenly it's become so important. Great quote that I heard from Jay-Z, not long ago was that, politics is the new hip hop. And I thought that was an interesting statement coming from him. The guy's a billionaire. He's got a lot of business acumen. And I thought, as I said, it was a very interesting statement. I'm going to take a little license with that. And what I'm going to tell you is that service retention is the new customer satisfaction index. And that's really what's happening at the manufacturer level right now. I can remember in the late 1980s, the first time my factory rep came in and showed me a 14-page survey and said, you're going to learn to live or die by what this says. And it was the first time we had ever seen anything like that. And, of course, after he left, and I was very nice to him, I smiled, and And off he went. I took that survey and dropped it in the trash because I thought, this is ridiculous. No one's ever going to take time to fill this out. No one's ever going to collate all this data. No one's ever going to make that big a deal out of it. And as you all know, I could not have been more wrong. What I've learned over time is that the factory only tracks things that they think they can make money on or that they plan to incentivize their own internal people on. And so I've learned over time to take a lot of time and pay a lot of attention to what it is that they're measuring, and realize that 2 to 5 years after measurement begins, there's going to be a program in place. So as I say, this is the new CSI. Now, one of the reasons why this is so important, and it really has to do with some of the work that J.D. Power does every year, and they publish every year, but there's a link between two of the surveys that most of us at retail, just haven't had time to make the connection on. But large consulting companies like the Carlyle Group and NPD, as well as J.D. Power, and everybody at the OEM level has been making this connection for the last 4 or 5 years, and we're really starting to see this come to fruition now in national strategies and even international strategies for all of the top automakers. So you're all familiar with something called the IQS study, and that measures whether or not customers have problems with their car 90 days after ownership, and it's a pretty narrow survey. It only comes out it only goes out to customers in the very beginning of the model year. But there's a second survey that they do, and they do it every year, and nobody ever talks about it. It's called VDS, the Vehicle Durability Study. And they take those exact same customers, and they go back to them 3 years later, and they ask, what broke? What went wrong? And the OEMs are able to use those two sets of metrics to determine where their warranty dollars are headed, up or down. And in some cases, it leads them to extend the life of a model year. For instance, if you look at some of the cars that are on the marketplace, Corolla is an example. The last generation Corolla lived well beyond anybody's expectations. Well, the reason for that is that the IQS, numbers were great and the VDS numbers were great. It wasn't an expensive car for Toyota, and customers loved it. So even though Hyundai and other brands have 6- and 7-speed transmissions in their compact cars, Toyota was doing fine with a 4-speed. It was not a very competitive product when you looked at the numbers, but people loved it, and it didn't cost them that much money to have that out in the field. And so in some cases, as I say, it may be used to justify, hey, we don't need to do a remodel on that. In some areas, though, it can speed up a remodel where the factory looks at it and says, look, if we keep building this car based on the VDS numbers, we're going to basically pay for a ground-up redo of this model in 3 years just in warranty and internal expense. And so they pay very, very close attention to it. What's important for you to know at the dealership level is that warranty repairs are absolutely plummeting. They're dropping by, on average, about 50% or more with each model update. And we also know that, maintenance reduces warranty expense. So if customers maintain their car in a regular fashion, we see things preemptively, and we begin to solve problems that are small rather than large problems. Case in point, my wife and I have a minivan. It just cracked 100,000 miles. It's been a beautiful vehicle for us. I just got the oil changed on Friday. They said to me, hey, bad news, you got a valve cover leak. Now, right now, it's very small. But if I hadn't brought that in and I wasn't working with a dealer that had a great multi-point inspection process, I may not know that, and that might lead me to a catastrophic failure when I'm out of warranty. And so these are some of the reasons why you see the OEMs being so particular about all of these small customer experience items and why they're pressing so hard on dealers now about service retention. Because the obvious thing that's going on out there is if warranty is dropping dramatically, that means the dealers have capacity and that they are able to now do more maintenance. Well, if you're doing more maintenance, it means they're selling more parts at retail, not gifting them, if you will, under the terms of the warranty, and that's more gross profit for them. But if there's such a thing as a perfect storm, they're living it right now, because their warranty expense is down, so their gross profit's going up. But since there's lower warranty, that means that their expense structure is less. Every dollar that you can take out of expense drops right to net profit. So not only are they grossing more in parts, but they are spending less as a result of increased quality initiatives. And so pausing there, I would just ask you to give Brian some feedback. do the incentives matter? I mean, do you understand now why some of the brands have such aggressive incentives, or why they are threatening, penalties based on how many customers you're able to keep in service? And so I'll just pause, and Brian, you can get a little feedback on that.
Yeah, sure. So for the audience that's with us today here, do these incentives and penalties make sense now based on what Andrew is sharing here? And do you understand the change of this mix that's going on here at the dealership? Yeah. So people are agreeing, Andrew. So let's jump in because
Good.
we have about another 10 or 15 minutes left. So let's.
Yeah, right. And the real thing is, be sure that you know how to define retention for the brands that you represent, because each OEM has a unique but a very similar definition. It's going to cover, 3 variables. There will always be some number of customer pay visits. And this, by the way, is one of the big things that, dealers were arguing about 2 years ago, because all the OEMs, within a matter of 3 months, took out, the service, warranty visits from their retention calculation, and everybody got cut in half or worse. So instantly, the dealers, became awake to that and said, "Why are you doing that?" And the OEM's response was, "Well, it's really about, whether or not they'll spend their own money, because if it's just about the warranty, well, they're captive there, right? They can only come to our brand for warranty, but if they're spending their own money, they've got a lot more choices out there. So there'll always be a variable about number of customer pay visits. There'll be a variable about time frame, whether they're measuring 1 year in time or 18 months in time or 2 years in time. And then the third variable will always be how many model years deep are they going in the past to calculate the units in operation, or what you commonly see as UIO. Now, this is different than repurchase or repurchase intent numbers that you read about from various consulting companies that publish national surveys. That simply is a yes or no question. Do you like your car enough that you would buy another one of the same model, or have you purchased another vehicle of the same make or model, since you bought your last one? And so those are simple up and down questions. This is very, very different and a lot more nuanced in terms of customer behavior. And so what you also need to know is that there are often 2 numbers at the OEM. One that you see, that's published, and that's going to have some type of monetary incentive, or unfortunately in some cases a punishment for the dealer. And typically, your field rep is working on that number as well. And so that's what we call the shallow pool. But there's also an internal number with money that has to do with, pay plans and bonuses for the parts executives, and that's often a much deeper pool. Case in point, one of the Asian manufacturers, when they're looking at incentives for their internal people, particularly the parts and parts marketing group, they go 15 model years back and say, you know what, your bonus is based on 15 model years worth of business, because they really believe, and in this particular case, that manufacturer can sell things like oil filters and OEM brakes to people with 15-year-old cars and, up to 200,000 miles on their vehicles, which is amazing. It's the longest and deepest pool that I've ever seen in any of the OEMs that I work with. But, there is at least one out there that goes 15 model years deep. So how it's calculated matters to you in a really big way. Quick little, and why does it matter? Quick little case study that I can share with you. I was recently working with a dealership just last year, 2012. They asked me to come in and help them with customer retention. And the first thing that I want to do is let's make sure that we're maximizing all of the programs and getting you all of the money that's available from your OEM. So this is a luxury franchise. They're above their minimum sales requirement, so they're selling more than the factory thinks they should. They got great CSI. They got great delivery scores. Everything's going well. But they were 1/100th of a point below the bonus level for customer retention for the last 2 years, and that added up to $150,000 in lost revenue just from the factory in quarterly incentives. That didn't count what they would have made from the additional repair orders. The bottom line is that nobody in the dealership understood how this was calculated, and so they didn't understand what changes they could have made to make it easier for them. One of the interesting things was that they were doing more than what the factory recommended, bringing customers in after 1,000 miles for a free checkup. But they were listing that in their DNS with an opcode that was not recognized by the OEM. And so one of the first things that we did was we changed the opcode. And you can guess what happened. Instantly, in the next month, they rocketed above the line in order to be qualified for the incentive. And everybody, looks at me and says, "My God, you're a hero." And I go, "No, it's just simply reading the program rules. Wait till you see what we do next." And the bottom line that I tell all of my clients is always, always, always position yourself for success. The people who win and win big are the first people in the bonus pools and the last ones out. So when you notice that they start measuring something, you have to start focusing on it, because as I say, within 2 to 3 years, they will start to put incentives or penalties in place if you're not above what's considered acceptable, by their internal measurements. And as I said earlier, they only measure what they get paid on, so pay close attention. Now, where's the real money for you in this? Because the factory money can come and go. Where's the real money, the long-term money, and the long-term success? And the answer is it's in your database. That's where it is. The truth is that warranty can't be predicted, and it can't be relied on. I made a lot of money back in the day rebuilding Chrysler A604 transmissions. And I had 3 guys that were working full-time in my shop that were doing nothing but rebuilding transmissions. And we did a very bad thing. We stopped training them to be technicians because they were our go-to transmission guys. And then one day, something terrible happened. Chrysler stopped building crappy transmissions. And 2 of the guys did not make the transition back to being master techs, and I don't even think they're in the business any longer. You've got to take a look at the idea that warranty comes and goes, and the only thing that you can really rely on moving forward more and more is maintenance, because that can be predicted. Every car's got a definite value in service and parts sales based on that schedule of service that you see in the owner's manual and whether the customer's on Schedule 1 or Schedule 2, right? The normal or the severe duty cycle. So the question that I ask everybody is, what if you could get 90% plus of the maintenance from 90% plus of all the cars you deliver? And if you really consider that fact, and some people may say, well, I think we're already getting close to that, here's the big thing that I want you to think about. If that's true, if you're getting that kind of share of maintenance, then you should be adding on to your service department or adding at least extra shifts in your service department once every 3 to 4 years. And if your dealership has not had that kind of capital expansion that's independent of store remodels or relocations, then you know that you're really not getting everything that's possible. And so if you had that kind of retention, how many of those customers would buy additional vehicles from you? And what would that mean? And one of the other things is just simply this, what if the future of your store depended on it? And what I would say is that it probably will in the future. In fact, I think it definitely will in the future. So we've got 7 simple links, and when you come to the boot camp in May, I'll get into these in depth and in detail. I have a very comprehensive handout for you that will show you step by step how to implement each one of these things and bring it to the next level. So whether or not you have it now or you don't have it now, we'll show you how to do both. And we'll bring you the best practices in each one of these areas. So here's the simple 7, right? Sales to service handoff, multi-point inspections, value pricing, selling what we call gateway items, simple tool accessories, prepaid maintenance, and regular fixed operations marketing. And I listed the last one, and I put it there because I was so excited that we were going to have Julie on the call to talk about that. So again, I really encourage you to go see her and go see Don. All right, let's dive in and take a look at what these things have meant to some other dealers. Very large case study, Global 5 automaker, national program that we had. And basically what we said in that program was that we believe that the overall strategy of increasing dealer profitability is where all the OEMs should be focused, that it shouldn't be about getting more parts over the curb, or it shouldn't be about a metric on a page other than, are your dealers making money? And are they making money in service? Because if they're not, and they're not absorbing 70% or more of their fixed expenses through service, they're not, as healthy as they should be, and they're not in a good position to compete, right? And so we said that's the simple strategy. We believe that simple tactics will yield the results that will get you there. So this happens, and again, Global 5, top 5 automakers, 750 dealers nationwide participate in this program. 180 are represented by the numbers on this slide, and an additional 180 just completed the program. Now, the final waves went through 2011 and 2012, and what I can tell you is, when I mention waves, what I mean is they didn't roll this out to all of the dealers at once. We had a limited budget and a limited number of consultants that were in the field working with dealers, and of course, it's a limited workload, how many dealers each consultant can carry. So we just finished up with the last parts of it in late 2012, but the pilot really taught us a lot about what was important. And so that allowed us to kind of simplify the program a little bit for the subsequent waves. They were more simplified, but they were deeper. The pilot only lasted 90 days, and even that, though, yielded some pretty significant results. But the average length of time that a dealer was working with us, in subsequent waves was about 9 months. Now, in the pilot, they were all hand-picked because, as you can imagine, one person in the OEM was spending a lot of money, and that meant, promotion or get fired. So they hand-picked dealers that they felt would be successful. Once we were able to show the results, I was able to say to that person at the OEM, look, open it up to anybody. Don't worry about whether or not they're currently making money. And I gave them what I call my Statue of Liberty, speech. I said, I'll take the tired, the hungry, the poor, the people that are working with their last nickel of working capital. Give me the guys that are on the bubble where you believe they can be great dealers, but they're struggling financially. I'll go to any small town, and we will help them get better. I believe that simple tactics yield results so strongly that there's nobody that I won't take in the program. And we had fantastic results. So if you take a look, you can see, that everybody increased. Now in gray, you'll see what the increase was for dealers that were not involved in this program. Maybe they were using some of the Simple 7, maybe they weren't using any of them. And by the way, not everybody, embraced all 7 concepts. So, some were only really using 5, and some, were flirting with 6 or 7, and some, frankly, were unable to master more than 3. But they're all here. So if you look at customer pay in terms of labor dollars, in green, you'll see that, our Wave 1 dealers had the greatest increase, $2,700 increase monthly. And our pilot dealers, while they didn't have enough soak time, they were still up significantly and a considerable amount compared to everybody else that's out there. And again, I'll review these numbers with you in detail at the boot camp. These will be in your handout. If we look at another way to measure it, because I'm a skeptic, and I always say, okay, great, so they made more money 1 month to the next, but, hey, you guys picked June, July, and August for your measurement program, and we all know that, there's ups and downs. The winter isn't as good for us in some markets, et cetera. So I always tend to say, all right, now let's go back and look at year-over-year increases. Did they do better over the time frame, versus last year versus this year? All right, and so the answer is, yeah, they did quite well. The pilot dealers made a lot of progress, as I said, in a short period of time. Wave 1 dealers were about 1/3 of the way through the process when we were doing the measurement, but they were up significantly. One of the big things, and Trish mentioned it, and not Trish, but we talked earlier about our sales, and that got me really, really excited because that was one of the things that we were kind of edgy about. Dealers really weren't into selling tires or batteries, being in what we call the gateway businesses. And when we started, those sales for the entire company were near zero, and we had some really, really big increases, including a national average that doubled as a result of about 20% of their dealers being involved in this program. So again, you can see here big increases, and while the whole country grew, and that makes sense because the economy was coming back, the dealers that were participating and the dealers that were focusing on the Simple 7 links were having much better success than their peers that were not. So let's dive in and talk a little bit more about the Simple 7 if we can. Sales to service handoff. Don talked about accountability.
We're going to have to. Yeah. So here's what we're going to have to do. Because of time, I think we have to just jump to a couple slides that I have and just let the dealers know that at the boot camp, you're going to dive into these simple 7, and most importantly, the results of dealers who were on the program had significant results, and that's really the exciting news for dealers who are looking to get their fixed ops, programs in higher gear. The Simple 7 has proven itself, and you're going to be sharing that at boot camp.
Indeed, absolutely. And again, I would encourage everybody to go see Julie and go see Don, because they've got great stuff to share and can really, really help you get your business where you want to be.
Great. And so Andrew, let me just close with a couple thoughts from my perspective. Those of you who don't know me, I've been really deep diving into digital strategies for dealers since 2005, and have a couple books out. And I wanted to share with you my excitement in fixed ops and why I'm so excited that boot camp is really bringing some of the top strategies together. I want to talk about this concept of an audit. One of the things that Julie mentioned, and I'm going to unmute Julie for a minute. Julie, did you get any pushback from the fixed ops folks when you said, I'm going to stop doing direct mail, I'm going to go digital? Did that run a shiver down anybody's spine?
Well, we all popped a few tums. Not gonna lie, it's a scary thing, and okay. But we weren't extremely satisfied or happy with the results we had been getting through direct mail. So I'd say it was just good timing.
Great. Well, one of the things that I will tell everyone, and I really mean this, is that you need to be willing to be bold and do an audit to find out what's working, not what's working. A couple things to keep in mind, and you'll see these themes repeated at the boot camp. We have to really understand the idea of incremental sales. Right now, whether you did no marketing or advertising, you're going to get a base of sales in your service drive. And then what is incremental might be from your digital strategy, your traditional strategy, or some other strategy that you're testing, whether it's social media or word of mouth or loyalty programs or credit programs. But can we all agree that when we look at bringing our service department to the next level, we can't base it just on total sales. We have to base it on incremental. So just by a yes or no, do you understand what I'm saying? That if you're doing a certain level of business in your service drive and you hire a digital marketing strategist or you hire a process person, we need to benchmark not the entire dollar amount, but really saying, like, what have we really changed? The other thing is how many of you are using a CRM in your service? Do you have a CRM for your service drive? Can you answer that question? I will tell you that the dealership's lack of focus on CRM and good data in your DMS and in your CRM system is also impeding the success that we can have with our service drives. And we'll be talking about the integration of CRM and data hygiene to really make our service processes better. And how about you? On a scale to A, B, C, D, E, F, how would you rate your phone processes at the dealership? When a consumer is calling your dealership in the service drive, how well are those phone calls being answered? Jerry Tebow recently spoke at the Internet Battle Plan, talked about some huge profit leaks at the dealership. How would you rate your dealership's phone skills? No matter what we're talking about at boot camp, one of the things I want to really get across is that with mobile marketing increasing, phone calls are increasing. And if we have crappy phone processes, they're going to be amplified. The other thing that I want to bring out that we're going to be talking at boot camp is whether or not your emails are being delivered. How many of you on today's call are doing a monthly service email blast? Would you please answer that question? Are you doing a monthly service email blast? Well, Kendall Billman from Ava was showing us some numbers of leads that the dealership, these are sales leads that the dealership marked as unreachable. Look at that slide. 63% of the leads from their website that they gave up on were engaged. 54% of the referral leads were engaged. 46% of the third-party leads were re-engaged. And look at the appointment percentages. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that we need to understand, and we'll be talking about at boot camp, is are our service emails really getting delivered? This is really some scary data. This is some data from Google, is that, and Julie mentioned it, right now about 20% of all automotive queries are mobile. Guess what Google says? By the end of this year, it's 40%. Ladies and gentlemen, what does your service website look on a mobile device? What does your specials look like on a mobile device? Is your website adaptive? Are you using social media to promote a service special, but when someone's on a mobile phone, they can't find it? I challenge you today to go to a page, a custom page you put on your website that's promoting your current service special, and go to your mobile phone and find that page. Tell me what it looks like. 9 out of 10 times that those pages are unreadable, they do not have a mobile equivalent, and there's no clear call to action from a mobile phone. The other thing that you'll be learning at boot camp is the importance of online reviews. Peter Martin recently talked about this at the Battle Plan. We'll be talking about it again, the power of direct mail and online reviews on the service revenue of your store. So here's a couple thoughts for you from my perspective. Is your digital strategy for service efficient? Would you be so kind as answering that question? Is your service digital marketing strategy efficient at your dealership? I'm going to wait. Is your, just go ahead and type in your answer. I want to get some feedback from you, because here's one of the things. When I travel around the country, when I do audits for dealership, this is one of the biggest unknowns. They really aren't looking at their dealer.com or Cobalt campaigns, and very, very big opportunities there. Does your website have service content that attracts and converts? Julie, Peter says, what digital service strategy? Peter, that's comical, but true. Here's the other thing. Julie's going to be talking about content and having her own graphics designer. What's related to this is that service content actually has better chance of driving organic or SEO traffic to your website. And guess what? If you use multi-channel sales funnels, you will find that good service content actually does convert. It doesn't always convert on the first visit. And I will tell you that an audit of your website will tell you how strong your SEO and content is for service. We are really excited to be working with Google Wildfire. This is a social media agency that Google bought. We're going to be one of the first companies to use the Google Wildfire platform for automotive, and this is focused on this idea of mobile and social offers. Ladies and gentlemen, if your fixed ops strategy is not leveraging mobile offers, understanding that someone on a mobile device that's typing in discount tires or collision shop or Toyota parts is within minutes or hours of making a decision. What are you doing to get them to pick your store? How many of you are doing digital radio? Oh, Peter makes a comment. Google loves service content because people who use Google love service content. Well, bottom line is our studies show that with a minimal amount of investment in fixed ops service content, it's amazing the additional traffic that gets generated. Julie obviously has some additional data to show. But how many of you are using Pandora Radio, digital targeted radio, for fixed ops. Ladies and gentlemen, there's some amazing opportunities for call to action. And then, of course, the service drive. You know, I've written about Google's flip-flop on collecting reviews. Julie's using .com's reputation program. Cobalt has one. There's a number of companies. Dominion has them. What's really working the best? I will tell you there's some great strategies that you should be doing, both merchandising your showroom and how you're using emails to increase reviews. We're going to be talking about that at boot camp. And then equity mining. There is an amazing movement of moving a salesperson into the service drive on a full-time basis. We're seeing an extra 30, 40 cars a month in some dealerships from 1 or 2 people, using equity mining tools, but they're stationed in the service drive. We're going to be talking about that at boot camp as well. So what do I have for you? A couple things you might not have played about is video pre-roll. Are you using video pre-roll to target and saturate your market for fixed ops? And I will tell you that if you are doing any cable TV advertising, if you are doing any radio or traditional, you should be looking at video pre-roll. It's an amazing way to get your message out to a targeted audience at a very, very affordable cost. And I mentioned earlier, how many of you have a collision center? Would you go on your phone right now? Go on your mobile device and type in collision center. Are you showing up like this Glenwood Auto Body? Are you there with a click-to-call phone number? Ladies and gentlemen, a digital audit, attending boot camp is going to give you the insights you need really to make a difference in today's marketing environment. How about this one? Any of you live in an area where you get hail? Anybody on the line here who has a dealership that's located in a place that gets hail? Now, obviously, this is pretty bad stuff, but you know what? How about putting emergency AdWords campaigns created and approved by Google on hold? Has anybody talked to you about that? Part of a digital audit or attending boot camp is very simple. Learn from the experts. It takes 3 days typically to get Google to approve a digital campaign. Imagine having a hailstorm damage campaign, both banner and keywords, on pause, already pre-approved. You get hit with a hailstorm, you turn it on for 24 or 48 hours. You're the first person in market and the only person in market that has that campaign ready to roll. So in closing, I want to tell you 2 things. Just because you have a marketing budget doesn't mean it's efficient. You can crush a bug with your shoe. You can crush a bug with a $100 hammer. You can crush a bug with a $40,000 car. I want to challenge fixed ops professionals to come to boot camp and learn what are the most efficient ways to promote traffic and engagement and sales. What are the most efficient ways to improve retention and absorption? We are going to be talking about email marketing in the service drive, all of the things that you need. You may be doing these things, but they may not be efficient. And those of you who can't attend boot camp, obviously I want to challenge you for one thing. Will you pull back the covers and do an audit? PCG specializes in these types of digital audits where we're looking at your dealership website, internet lead handling, your budgeting, how you are with reviews and social, your video engagement, your page 1 scores, and how are you merchandising your cars and vehicles, and of course, what does your digital presence look like for fixed ops? We don't focus on absorption, we don't focus on training, we don't do retention like some of our other guests, but from the digital side, would you be willing to have somebody give you the truth with the amount of money, whether it's $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 a month in dealership advertising across new, used, service, parts, collision shop? Don't you deserve to get a true audit on what's working, what's not working? If you're interested in that type of audit, you can obviously send me an email. And obviously, those of you who are going to the boot camp are going to get the insights for you to do an audit based on the new knowledge that you have. And I want to reward everyone on today's webinar. Come out to boot camp, meet Andrew, meet Don, meet Julie, meet Peter Martin. Myself and other experts will be down there, and we can save you $300 a person by calling Carrie Hempel and say you were on the Fixed Ops Workshop webinar and you want to lock in that special price. So I want to thank everyone for participating in this wonderful, wonderful discussion on fixed ops opportunities. Is there any questions from the general team, whether it's for Julie or for Don, or of course our most esteemed Andrew Barter? I can't wait to see your 7 links presentation. Any final questions from anyone? Well, I am pleased that everyone feels like they've got something out of it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how did you feel about today's webinar? And love to get your feedback before you sign off. Just put that in the question mark. Did you enjoy our speakers today, and look forward to boot camp? I want to thank everyone for their time. A copy of this recording will be posted and sent to everyone who registered, along with the slide deck. I want to encourage you to get your team out to boot camp, and if you can't make it, at least make the commitment to audit what you're doing, what you're spending money on. The increases that Don showed on accountability, the increases that Andrew showed using these 7 links, the increases that Julie showed from a digital strategy, ladies and gentlemen, are not minor changes. We're talking, you saw, Don, $1 million in gross profit. You're seeing, Julie, a 900% increase in traffic. You saw Andrew's number in customer pay and average customer RO. I mean, this is big stuff. This is not minor stuff. If your dealership doesn't see the vision of sending your team, your fixed ops team, out to boot camp, they are missing the bigger picture. So thank you so much. Love having you on this call, and please do not miss the opportunity to meet with these great subject matter experts at boot camp. So with that said, it's a great day. Start off the week. It's the last selling week of the month, so make it strong. And thank you so much for everyone attending today, and thank you, all our speakers, for a wonderful presentation. Have a great day.
Thank you.